I heard the diesel engine before I saw it. Deep rumble shaking the windows of my childhood bedroom where I'd been sleeping for the past 3 weeks since my life fell apart. My mother's voice drifted up from downstairs, sweet and accommodating in that fake way she used with strangers. Yes, it's in the garage. Just back your truck up to the driveway. My daughter won't mind, she's upstairs resting. I looked out the window. A flatbed tow truck was backing into our driveway. 2 men climbed out, one carrying a clipboard, the other pulling on work gloves. They were heading for the garage, for my grandfather's car, for the 1969 Ford Mustang that was the only thing I had left of him. I watched my mother gesture toward the garage door, watched her smile, that smile I knew so well, the one that said she was getting away with something. "Stay inside and let the men work," she called up the stairs. "They'll be done in 20 minutes. I stood frozen at the window, watching them hook chains to the front wheels of the Mustang. The car Grandpa had restored bolt by bolt over 10 years. The car he'd taught me to drive in, even though Mom said I'd crash it. The car he'd signed over to me on my 18th birthday with tears in his eyes and a promise I'd keep it forever. My phone was in my hand before I even realized I'd picked it up. My fingers found 911 with the muscle memory of someone who'd thought about this moment but never believed it would come. I didn't run downstairs. Didn't yell. Just walked calmly out the front door, past my mother's shocked face, straight up to the man with the clipboard. And I made the call that would change everything. My name is Casey Morgan. I'm 32 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I moved back into my childhood home after losing my job, my apartment, and my relationship in the span of 1 brutal month. I thought I was coming home to regroup, to heal, to figure out my next move with the support of family. I was wrong about the support part. My mother, Patricia Morgan, had made it clear from day one that I was a burden, an inconvenience, a grown adult who should have had her life together by now. "You can stay in your old room," she'd said when I showed up with 3 suitcases and red eyes from crying. "But I expect you to contribute. This isn't a free hotel." I'd been contributing, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, paying her $300 a month even though I was unemployed and living off savings. But apparently, it wasn't enough. The Mustang sat in the garage, covered with a tarp I'd brought from my apartment. I checked on it every day, changed the oil, kept the battery charged. Sometimes I'd just sit in the driver's seat with my hands on the steering wheel, remembering Grandpa's laugh, his patient voice teaching me to work a clutch, his pride when I finally got it right. That car wasn't just metal and chrome, it was memory made tangible. It was proof that someone had loved me unconditionally once, even if my own mother never had. And now she was trying to sell it. I'd seen the listing 2 days ago. Found it by accident while scrolling Facebook Marketplace, looking for cheap furniture for my next apartment. There it was, 1969 Ford Mustang, fully restored, excellent condition, $35,000 OBO. The photos showed my car, my registration, my VIN number visible in one shot, and my mother's phone number at the bottom. The 911 operator answered on the second ring. 911, what's your emergency? Someone is attempting to steal my vehicle. They're loading it onto a tow truck right now at 847 Maple Street. My voice was calm, almost too calm. The kind of calm that comes from years of practice stuffing emotions down where no one can see them. "Are you in a safe location?" "Yes. I'm outside. The person who arranged this is my mother, but the vehicle is registered in my name and she has no authority to sell or remove it." The operator's tone shifted slightly. Professional but more alert. "Officers are en route. Can you stay on the line?" "Yes." I stood there on the driveway, phone to my ear, watching the tow truck operator work. He noticed me, waved casually like this was all perfectly normal, like he hauled away people's cherished possessions every day without a second thought. My mother came rushing out of the house. "Casey, what are you doing? Get inside. This doesn't concern you." "It's my car, Mom. So yes, it does concern me. You owe me rent. You owe me for food and utilities. This car is collateral. This car is mine, legally, and what you're doing is theft." The tow truck driver stopped working, looked between us. "Ma'am, is there a problem? You told me this was your vehicle." "It is," my mother insisted. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, and showed him my registration. This is the title, my name, my signature, not hers. His face changed. Oh no. That's when we heard the sirens. The police cruiser pulled up within 15 minutes. 2 officers stepped out, one older with gray at his temples, one younger with a notebook already in hand. "Who called about the theft?" the older officer asked. "I did. I held up my phone. That's my vehicle. I have the title and registration. My mother tried to sell it without my permission." My mother's face went from pale to flushed. "This is ridiculous. Officer, I'm her mother. She's living in my house rent-free. I've been paying rent," I interrupted. "And the car has nothing to do with rent. It's not hers to sell." The younger officer looked at the tow truck driver. "Sir, who hired you?" "She did." He pointed at my mother, said it was her car, she had the right to sell it, and I was just doing transport for the buyer. "Can I see your documentation?" the officer asked me. I handed over my folder. Title, registration, insurance card, all with my name printed clearly. The officer examined everything carefully, then looked at my mother. "Ma'am, do you have any ownership documentation for creating the commentation? This vehicle? It was my father's car. He gave it to her, but it should have come to me. I'm his daughter, but the legal owner is," he checked the title again. "Casey Morgan." "Is that you?" "Yes, sir." "Then this vehicle cannot be removed without your consent." My mother exploded. "You ungrateful little brat! After everything I've done for you! I raised you, fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay me? By calling the police on your own mother?" I felt something inside me snap. Not break snap, like a bone that had been bent too far for too long finally giving way. "No, Mom, Grandpa raised me. You were just there. And even then, barely." The neighborhood had gone quiet. Curtains were twitching in windows. Mrs. Chen from next door was openly watching from her porch. My mother's reputation, carefully cultivated over decades, was crumbling in real time. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes without hesitation. My mother's face went white. "You can't be." "Attempted theft," the younger officer said, making notes. "Possibly fraud, depending on what was communicated to the buyer and the tow company." "Casey, don't do this," my mother said, her voice suddenly small. "Please." But I was already remembering all the times Grandpa had been there when she wasn't. He taught me to drive when I was 15, even though Mom said I wasn't ready. Took me to the empty parking lot at the old grocery store every Sunday morning, patient through every stall, every jerky start, every moment of panic when I thought I'd never get it right. He taught me to change oil at 16, rotate tires at 17, read engine codes at 18, made me promise I'd never be helpless on the side of the road, never dependent on someone else to rescue me. On my 18th birthday, he'd called me into his garage. The Mustang was there, freshly waxed, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "This is yours now," he'd said, handing me the keys. "I bought it when your mom was pregnant with you, restored it over the years, always meant for it to be yours. Grandpa, I can't, you can, and you will. But promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll keep it. Not for me. For you. Promise me you'll have something that's entirely yours, that nobody can take from you, that reminds you where you came from and where you're going." I'd promised, and I'd kept that promise for 14 years, until my mother decided she had a better use for it. After the police left, after warnings were issued and report numbers were given, I went back inside to pack. My mother followed me upstairs. "Casey, we need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about." I wasn't going to keep the money. I was going to use it for household expenses. For bills. You living here has been expensive. I've been paying you rent. I buy my own food. I barely use utilities. I pulled my suitcase from the closet. You wanted the money because you saw an opportunity. That's not fair. Fair? You tried to sell the most important thing I own. The last connection I have to the only person in this family who actually loved me. I started throwing clothes into the suitcase. "Nothing about this is fair." She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Where will you go?" "Anywhere but here. You don't have a job. You don't have money. I have enough." I did, barely. My savings were meant to last 6 months of unemployment. I'd been here 3 weeks and still had most of it. "This is ridiculous. You're overreacting to a simple misunderstanding." I stopped packing, turned to face her. A misunderstanding would be accidentally putting my car up for sale thinking it was yours. You knew it was mine. You knew I'd say no if you asked. So you went behind my back and hired a tow truck to steal it while I was upstairs. That's not a misunderstanding. That's theft. I'm your mother. And I'm your daughter, but you've never let that mean anything. The truth hung between us, heavy and unavoidable. That night, alone in my old bedroom for the last time, I pulled out the folder Grandpa had given me with the car title. Inside was something I'd forgotten about, a letter he'd written, dated just a month before he died. Casey, by the time you read this, I'll probably be gone. Don't cry, I'm 86 and I've had a good run. I want you to know why I'm giving you the Mustang. It's not just because it's a beautiful car or because I spent years restoring it. It's because I know your mother. She sees everything in terms of what it's worth to her, what she can get from it, what it says about her. She never understood that some things have value that can't be measured in dollars. This car is yours because you understand that. You understand that working on something with your own hands, keeping something alive long past when most people would give up that's worth something, that means something. Keep it safe. Keep it running. And, most importantly, keep it yours. Don't let anyone convince you that you owe them access to the things you love. Not even family. Especially not family. You're going to be okay, kid. You're stronger than you know, and you love more honestly than anyone in this family ever has. That's your superpower. Don't let them make you think it's a weakness. Love, Grandpa, I read it 3 times, cried through all 3 readings. Then I took a photo of it and uploaded it to a secure cloud backup. Because I knew, somehow, that I'd need proof of Grandpa's intentions before this was over. The next morning, I found the tow truck driver's card on my windshield. He'd stopped by before I woke up, written on the back in shaky handwriting. I'm sorry. I thought it was a legal sale. Please call me if you need a statement for your insurance or the police. I called him from my car, already packed and ready to leave. Casey Morgan? Yes. Thank you for the card. Look, I've been in this business 20 years. I've towed repos, abandoned vehicles, junkers. Never once had someone lie to me about ownership like that. She showed you paperwork? Old photo of the car. Said it was taken when she owned it. I didn't think to ask for current registration, because why would someone lie about their own kid's car? Because she needed money and saw an easy mark. He was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, that's a beautiful Mustang. I could tell someone loved that car, kept it perfect. When I saw it, I thought whoever owned it must really care. My grandfather restored it, gave it to me when I turned 18. Then I'm real glad you stopped me from taking it. Some things aren't meant to be sold. We talked for another few minutes. He agreed to provide a written statement for the police report. Said he'd never accept another job from my mother even if she called. She burned that bridge, he said. And I don't work with people who lie. I wished more people in my life had that policy. Filing. The police report took 2 hours. I sat in the station with an officer named Detective Williams, who'd been assigned to follow up on the case. This happens more than you'd think, she said. Family members trying to sell each other's property. Usually, it's parents selling their adult kids stuff to teach them a lesson, or siblings stealing from each other. It's messy. She's claiming I owed her money, that the car was collateral. Did you have a rental agreement? Anything in writing? No. She just said $300 a month for room and board. I paid cash. Detective Williams made notes. That's going to be a problem for her case. No documentation, no written agreement about collateral, and the car title is clearly in your name. So what happens now? We'll investigate. Talk to the tow company, the intended buyer if we can find them. Your mother. If there's enough evidence of fraud or attempted theft, the DA might press charges. And if they don't, then at least you have it, on record. If she tries anything else, there's a paper trail. I signed my statement, provided copies of every text message, every Facebook Marketplace screenshot, every piece of evidence I had. Can I ask you something? Detective Williams said as I was leaving. Sure. Why did you call us? Most people in family situations try to handle it privately. I thought about that. About years of handling things privately. Years of letting things go to keep the peace. Because I'm tired of protecting people who never protected me. She nodded. Good answer. I moved into a motel that night. Nothing fancy, just a place with a bed and a parking spot where I could see my car from the window. I couldn't afford it long term, but I needed a few days to figure out my next move. My phone rang constantly. My mother, my aunt, my brother, my cousins, everyone suddenly had opinions about what I should do. I ignored them all. Instead, I called the insurance company, explained what had happened, filed a report about the attempted theft. The agent was sympathetic. "You did the right thing calling the police immediately. That kind of documentation helps us if there are any future claims." "There's one more thing," I said. "When my grandfather gave me the car, he made me promise to keep it protected. I have special coverage, right? Against unauthorized towing?" I heard typing. "Yes, actually, there's a clause here. Any unauthorized removal of the vehicle triggers fraud protocols. Did anyone actually remove it from your property?" "They tried. The police stopped it before they got it off the driveway. Then we'll need copies of the police report." This could be considered attempted insurance fraud if your mother intended to profit from a vehicle she didn't own. She did intend that. I have screenshots of her listing it online. More typing. "Forward those to me. We'll open an investigation." I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. Agency. The sense that I wasn't just a victim of circumstances, but someone actively protecting what was mine. The neighborhood gossip spread faster than I expected. Within 24 hours, everyone on Maple Street knew that Patricia Morgan had tried to sell her daughter's car and gotten police called on her. "Mrs. Chen texted me, 'Your mother is telling people you stole from her. Just wanted you to know what she's saying.' Thank you. That's not true." "I know. I saw the whole thing. The police wouldn't have sided with you if you were in the wrong." My mother's carefully curated image, the devoted single mother who'd raised her daughter alone, who'd sacrificed so much, who deserved sympathy and admiration, was cracking. People who'd known her for 30 years were suddenly seeing a different side. The side Grandpa had always seen, the side I'd lived with my whole life. Selfish, manipulative, willing to hurt her own child if it benefited her. I spent that night going through old boxes I'd grabbed from Mom's house before I left. Photos, letters, documents. And I found something that made everything click into place. A conversation I'd had with Grandpa a year before he died. We'd been working on the Mustang's carburetor. His hands weren't steady anymore, so I did most of the work while he guided me through it. "Your mom called me yesterday," he'd said out of nowhere. "Asked if I was planning to leave her anything when I pass." "What did you tell her?" "That I already left her plenty. She got her mother's jewelry, got half the house when your grandmother died, got money to help with your raising. Though I'm not sure how much of that actually went to you." "Grandpa, I'm not blind, kid. I know she resents you. Resents that you remind her of the life she didn't get to live because she had you young. Resents that you're close with me because she never figured out how. Then why give me the car?" "Because you love too hard, Casey. You love people who don't deserve it. You forgive people who never apologize. One day, you're going to have to love yourself more than you love them. And when that day comes, I want you to have something that's entirely yours. Something she can't guilt you into sharing. Something that reminds you that you're worth protecting." I'd brushed it off then, told him he was being dramatic. Now I understood. He'd been preparing me for exactly this moment. The next day, I went back to my mother's house while she was at work. I still had my key. Let myself into the garage. Behind an old workbench, there was a loose panel I'd discovered when I was 16. Grandpa's secret hiding spot for important papers he didn't trust anyone else to know about. I pulled the panel off. Inside was a metal box. Still there after all these years. The combination was my birthday. It opened easily. Inside were documents, receipts for every major part he'd bought for the Mustang, records of restoration work, photos of the process, and a notarized letter dated 3 years. To whom it may concern. This letter serves to document my intentions regarding my 1969 Ford Mustang, VIN 9F02M100001. This vehicle was purchased by me in 1983 and restored over a period of 10 years. It was given to my granddaughter, Casey Morgan, on her 18th birthday, the 14th of June 2010, as a gift with no strings attached. The vehicle is hers in every sense. I have transferred the title to her name, I have ensured she maintains proper insurance and registration. Should anything happen to me, I want it clearly stated that this vehicle belongs to Casey alone. No other family member has any claim to it. It is not part of my estate. It was gifted prior to my death. It is hers to keep, maintain, and treasure as she sees fit. Signed, Samuel Morgan. The letter was notarized, witnessed by 2 people I didn't know. Completely legal. I took photos of everything. Every receipt, every photo, every document. Uploaded them all to cloud storage. Then I put everything back except the notarized letter. That one. I kept. The insurance investigator called me 2 days later. Miss Morgan, we've reviewed your claim. We've also reviewed the Facebook Marketplace listing you forwarded to us. And? We're opening a fraud investigation. Your mother listed a vehicle that wasn't hers to sell, used photos that showed your registration, and attempted to profit from the sale. That's textbook insurance fraud. What happens now? We interview her, review any documentation she provides, cross-reference with your documentation. If she claimed the vehicle was hers on any official documents, that strengthens the fraud case. She told the tow truck driver it was hers. That's witness testimony. Very useful. Papers rustled on the other end. Miss Morgan, can I ask what made you so thorough? Most people don't document everything like you have. My grandfather taught me. He said to always protect what's mine because not everyone would respect that. Smart man? Yes, he was. After I hung up, I felt lighter. Every agency, every system, every official process was seeing what I'd always known. She was wrong. I was right, and consequences were coming. My mother showed up at the motel 3 days after I moved out. I watched her from my window, saw her hesitation before she knocked. I almost didn't answer. Then I decided I wanted to hear what she'd say. She stood at my door holding a plate of cookies. Homemade chocolate chip, my favorite as a kid. Can we talk? I didn't invite her in, just stood in the doorway. I brought these as a peace offering. I think we both overreacted. Maybe we can just forget this whole thing happened and move forward. Forget it happened. Yes. You come home, we don't mention it again, everything goes back to normal. No. Casey. You tried to steal my car, Mom. You lied to a tow company. You listed my property for sale without permission, and now you want me to just forget because you baked cookies? I made a mistake. A mistake is accidentally backing into someone's mailbox. This was calculated, planned, theft. You waited until you thought I was asleep. You hired a company. You were going to take my car and sell it and probably would have told me it was stolen. She set the cookies down on the walkway. What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything from you anymore. So, that's it? You're going to ruin my reputation, drag me through the legal system, destroy our family over a car? I'm going to protect what's mine. If that ruins your reputation, you did that yourself. She left. The cookies sat on the walkway until the next morning when I threw them away. I found an apartment a week later. Small studio, cheap rent, month-to-month lease. It was in a rougher part of town, but it was mine. No family, no drama, just me and my car and space to breathe. The day I moved in, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. I'll give you one more chance to come home. After this, you're on your own. I typed, back. I've been on my own my whole life. Now it's just official. She didn't respond. I spent that night setting up my new space. A mattress on the floor. A few dishes from Goodwill, a folding chair and a TV tray for a table. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and that made it more valuable than any fully furnished house I'd ever lived in with her. The family group chat exploded 2 days later. Someone had told everyone about the police report, the insurance investigation, everything. Messages poured in from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Aunt Helen, Casey, this is going too far. Your mother is devastated. Uncle Rick, family handles things privately. You're embarrassing all of us. My brother Marcus, Mom's crying every day. Can you please just drop this? But there were other messages too. Cousin Vanessa, about time someone stood up to Aunt Patricia. She's been pulling this stuff for years. Aunt Joanne, Grandpa's other daughter, your grandfather would be proud of you. Don't back down. Marcus again, in a private message. Okay, I get why you're mad. But Mom says you're going to send her to jail. Me, I'm not sending her anywhere. I'm reporting a crime. What happens after that is up to the DA. Marcus. But she's our mom. Me. And the Mustang is my car. She knew that and tried to sell it anyway. Marcus, it's just a car. I didn't respond to that. Because anyone who could say just a car had never had something that mattered more than its resale value. I came home from a job interview finally, a lead, to find my mother's car parked outside my apartment. She wasn't in it. She was sitting on my doorstep, waiting. We need to talk. I disagree. Casey, please. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let her inside. She looked around at my sparse apartment. I saw judgment in her eyes, even though she tried to hide it. This is what you left for? This? I left for peace. The apartment is just where I sleep. She sat on my folding chair, uninvited. The insurance company called me. They're investigating fraud charges. I know. Casey, if they press charges, I could go to jail. I could lose my job. I could lose everything. You were willing to risk that when you tried to sell my car. I didn't think you'd call the police. I didn't think you'd take it this far. Then you don't know me at all. She was crying now. Real tears this time, not the manipulative ones I'd seen 1,000 times before. I need help with the mortgage. Bills are piling up. I thought the car money would give me some breathing room. Then sell your own things. Get a second job. Downsize. Do what the rest of us do when money's tight. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You saw something valuable that wasn't yours and decided you deserved it more than I did. That's theft. I don't care if you're my mother. That doesn't give you rights to my property. She left shortly after. On her way out, she said, "You're going to regret this." But I already knew I wouldn't. The legal notice came a week later. Delivered by certified mail to my mother's address. Forwarded to me by Marcus, who'd opened it thinking it was for him. It was from the executor of Grandpa's estate, an attorney named Douglas Park, who'd handled Grandpa's will. The letter was straightforward. According to Samuel Morgan's last will and testament, the garage and all its contents, including the 1,969 Ford Mustang, were left to Casey Morgan, not Patricia Morgan. Furthermore, any attempt to sell, remove, or profit from said property would be considered theft from the estate and would be prosecuted accordingly. The letter was dated 3 years ago, filed with the will. Legally binding. My mother had never had any claim to the car, not before Grandpa died, and certainly not after. I called Mr. Park's office. "Miss Morgan, I've been expecting your call. Your grandfather was very specific about his wishes regarding that vehicle." Did my mother know about this? Provision? She was present at the will reading. Either she forgot, or she chose to ignore it. She definitely chose to ignore it. Then I'm glad you called the police. Your grandfather was worried something like this might happen. That's why he was so thorough in his documentation. I thanked him and hung up, feeling that same sense of validation. Grandpa had known, had prepared, had protected me even after he was gone. The Facebook post appeared 3 days later. Someone from my mother's church posted in a local community group, "Does anyone know Patricia Morgan? She tried to sell her daughter's car without permission and got the police called on her. Just wanted to warn people in case she tries to sell other things that aren't hers." The comments exploded. "That's awful. Who steals from their own kid? I bought furniture from her at a garage sale last year. Now I'm wondering if it was actually hers to sell. My daughter says Casey Morgan went to school with her. Casey is a good person. Her mom has always been difficult. Casey was my daughter's best friend growing up. She practically lived at our house to get away from her mom." Every comment peeled back another layer of my mother's carefully constructed image. People who'd known her for years suddenly remembered things they'd overlooked, patterns they'd ignored, red flags they'd dismissed. My phone rang, my mother, screaming, "Do you see what you've done? Everyone's talking about me. Everyone knows. Everyone knows you tried to steal from me. That's not my fault. Take it down. I didn't post it. I don't control what other people say. This is destroying my reputation." "No, Mom. Your actions destroyed your reputation. People are just finally talking about it." She hung up. I blocked her number. The tow truck driver, his name was Frank, showed up at my apartment unannounced a week later. I was immediately wary. "What are you doing here?" I wanted to apologize. In person. Properly. I let him stand in the doorway while he talked. I've been in this business for 20 years. I've hauled repos, abandoned vehicles, junkers, classic cars for collectors. Never once had someone flat out lie to me about ownership the way your mother did. She's convincing. That's what scares me, how easy it was to believe her. She had an old photo, told a good story, seemed like a normal person arranging a normal sale. He shook his head. I should have asked more questions. You did your job based on the information you had. Yeah, but I should have verified. Should have asked for current registration, not just taken her word. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. This is a written statement about what happened. For your case, if you need it. Everything she told me, everything I saw, all documented. I took the envelope. Thank you. And if you ever need a tow for legitimate reasons, call me. No charge. It's the least I can do. After he left, I read his statement. It was thorough, damning, and exactly what I needed for the insurance investigation. I took the Mustang to a real mechanic 2 weeks later, a shop that specialized in classic cars, run by a guy named Pete who'd known Grandpa. Casey Morgan, I haven't seen you since your grandfather's funeral. How's the Mustang running? Okay, but I want to go through everything. Make sure it's perfect. We spent 2 hours going over every system. Engine, transmission, brakes, electrical. Pete made a list of recommended maintenance. Nothing major. Your grandfather kept this car pristine. Just normal wear items that need attention. Let's do all of it. That'll run about $2,000. I don't care. I want it done right. Over the next 3 weeks, I spent every spare minute at that shop. Learning, helping, rebuilding parts alongside Pete while he explained what he was doing and why. One bolt at a time, I felt like I was breathing again, like I was reconnecting with Grandpa through the work he'd taught me. To love. Pete taught me things Grandpa hadn't lived long enough to show me. Advanced diagnostics, carburetor tuning, electrical troubleshooting. Your grandfather told me you'd be good at this, Pete said one afternoon while we were adjusting the timing. Said you had better instincts than most guys who'd been working on cars for 20 years. He was generous with his praise. He was honest with his assessments. There's a difference. When the work was done, the Mustang ran better than it had in years. Smooth, powerful, responsive. I took it out on the highway and opened it up. Felt the engine roar, felt Grandpa's presence in every shift, every acceleration, every perfect response. This was freedom. This was proof that I'd kept my promise. This was mine. My mother showed up at my job 6 weeks after I'd blocked her number. I was working part-time at a bookstore while I looked for something in my field. It was quiet, peaceful, and worlds away from the drama. She found me shelving books in the self-help section. The irony wasn't lost on me. Casey, we need to talk. I'm working. Please. 5 minutes. I looked at my manager. She nodded, concerned but giving me space to handle it. We stepped outside. My mother looked different. Thinner, older, tired in a way that makeup couldn't hide. The bank is foreclosing on the house. I'm 3 months behind on the mortgage. I need help. Call a realtor. Casey, you have a house worth $300,000. Sell it, downsize, figure it out. That house is my home. Your grandfather and I bought it together. Grandpa bought it. You just lived there. That's cruel. No, it's accurate. And I'm not helping you save a house by sacrificing my future. Not anymore. She grabbed my arm. I'm your mother. You owe me. I pulled away. I don't owe you anything. I paid rent when I lived there. I contributed. And you repaid me by trying to steal the one thing I had left of Grandpa. It was a mistake. It was a choice. You made it. Now you live with the consequences. So, you're just going to let me lose everything? I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the desperation, the fear, the realization that the safety net she'd always assumed would be there, her daughter's guilt, her daughter's love was gone. You'll figure it out, I said. You always do. Just this time, you'll do it without using me. I went back inside, watched through the window as she sat on the bench outside for 10 minutes, crying. Then she got in her car and drove away. My manager approached cautiously. You okay? Yeah. Better than I've been in years, actually. And I meant it. 3 months later, I entered the Mustang in a local car show. Small event, mostly enthusiasts, nothing fancy, but it felt right. I spent the morning polishing every surface, making sure everything was perfect. Not for the judges, but for Grandpa. The show was in a park downtown. Hundreds of classic cars lined up on the grass. Families walking between them. Kids pressing their faces against windows. I parked the Mustang in my assigned spot, opened the hood to show off the engine Grandpa and I had rebuilt, set up a small photo display of the restoration process. People stopped, asked questions, complimented the work. One older man spent 20 minutes talking to me about the engine specs. "Your grandfather did beautiful work. This is exactly how these cars should be preserved." "Thank you." He taught me everything. He taught you well. At the end of the day, they announced winners. I didn't expect anything. Just being there felt like enough. Third place, Classic Division 1969 Ford Mustang, owned by Casey Morgan. I walked up to collect my trophy. Small, nothing fancy, but it felt like everything. I texted a photo to Pete. "We did it." He responded immediately. "Sam would be so proud." I didn't invite my mother. Didn't tell my family. Just celebrated quietly with people who understood what the car represented. Later that evening, sitting in the Mustang in my apartment parking lot, I placed the trophy on the dashboard where Grandpa used to keep his sunglasses. "We did it," I whispered to the empty car. "Just like you knew we would." 6 months after the police report, the insurance investigation concluded. My mother was found liable for attempted fraud. She had to pay a fine and was flagged in insurance databases. The criminal case never went to trial. The DA offered her a plea deal: restitution, probation, community service. She took it. I heard about it through Marcus, who called to tell me she'd been crying for days. "Do you feel bad?" he asked. "No? Do you?" "She's our mom, Casey. And the Mustang was my car. She knew that. She tried to take it anyway. When does it end? When do you forgive her? Maybe never. Maybe forgiveness isn't the point. Maybe the point is that I finally chose myself over making her comfortable." He didn't understand. I didn't expect him to. I blocked his number 2. My new life was small but mine. I got a job in my field. Moved to a better apartment. Made friends who didn't know my mother and didn't need to. I kept the Mustang in a garage I rented specifically for it. Drove it every weekend. Maintained it the way Grandpa taught me. I hung his photo in my apartment. Not hidden away in a drawer, but prominently displayed where I'd see it every day. And every time I drove that car, windows down, engine roaring, I felt free in a way I never had before. Not free from my mother's control, I'd never really been under it. Free from the guilt that had kept me tied to her despite everything. Free from the belief that family obligation trumped self-preservation. Free from the idea that love meant sacrificing myself. The Mustang wasn't just a car, it was proof that Grandpa had seen me, had known me, had protected me even after he was gone. It was proof that I mattered, that my boundaries mattered, that I was worth protecting. My mother lost her. House 6 months later. Downsized to an apartment. I heard about it through relatives who still tried to guilt me into helping. I didn't respond. She sent letters. Emails from new addresses I hadn't blocked. Birthday cards with messages about family and forgiveness. I threw them away unopened. Because I'd learned something important. You can't fix people who don't think they're broken. You can only protect yourself from the damage they cause. And I'd chosen protection. 1 year after that 911 call, I drove the Mustang to Grandpa's grave, parked beside his headstone. Sat in the car with the windows down. "I kept my promise," I said out loud. "The car's still mine, still perfect, still running." A breeze moved through the cemetery. I chose to believe it was him saying he knew. I drove home slowly, taking the long way, enjoying the drive. And when I parked in my garage and locked the door behind me, I felt something I'd been searching for my whole life. Peace. Not because I'd won some battle with my mother, but because I'd finally won the battle with myself. The battle that said family deserved endless chances. That blood meant unlimited access. That love meant accepting harm. I'd won by walking away, by calling the police, by choosing the car over the relationship, by choosing myself. And every time I turned the key in that Mustang's ignition, every time I heard that engine roar to life, I was reminded of the most important lesson Grandpa ever taught me. Some things are worth protecting, even from family, especially from family, and I was one of those things. The car was just the symbol. I was the real prize, and I'd finally learned I was worth keeping. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and protecting yourself? Share your story. Tag someone who needs to hear that setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. Because the best inheritance isn't money or possessions, it's the courage to protect what matters. Even when the redders, people who should support you, try to take it away.